your child's education is being done to you, or are you participating in it? Isn't that an interesting question? And it's a question you need to stop and ask your kids from time to time too. Do you feel like this education is being done to you, or you're owning this education and bringing it further on with you? Every once in a while throughout the school year, we'll stop and have this conversation, especially if things are going a little bit off track. You need to ask yourself that every week. Am I here because I think this is the best education that I can offer my child, and that is so important for me to be an active part of this child's education? Or am I here begrudgingly, and I look forward to that Thursday or next Monday and Tuesday? Because that comes across in the work that you do with your children through that time. It just does. They sense it. We know each other so well, don't we? Your kids know everything about you by just looking at your face. And you know everything about them by just looking at their face as well, correct? What are you confident in? Are there areas that you're not feeling so confident? Does anybody say math? Yeah, I mean, that's a common one. What are you going to do about that? What is your plan for seeming like I can handle this? This morning, I'm going to come here and seem like I'm the teacher of this, but I'm not feeling very confident. What's the plan there for that? And I'll talk about that a little bit when I talk about the actual nuts and bolts of it all. Do you own your mistakes? Sometimes I own mine, and sometimes I'm not so good at owning mine, but boy, you're sure going to need to. You're going to need to own your mistakes. You're going to need to back up. You're going to need to be very good at apologizing to your kids. So if you're not right now, you better practice it over the weekend, because you're going to blow it as a teacher. All right? You just are. It's just the way things are. There's many times that I back up and go, okay, let's just pop the brakes here. I have completely gone off course. I'm so sorry. And you know what? You end up raising kids that are able to do that very same thing. It really, you don't have to be an authority. And quite frankly, it's kind of intimidating for your children when you come across as the authority all the time on things. It's not really very fair to them. Nobody I know I can think of as an authority that well. Do you teach yourself new things? Just think about yourself in terms of, who are you as a student? Are you guys, do you have something in the learner right now that you're learning? Is there anything you're learning right now, teaching yourself?
Yes.
What is it? Can you say?
It's a computer program at work. I challenge me.
What I heard her say is, I know stuff about computers and I'm available for questions.
No.
Did you interpret that? Look, I got my resource section now. What again is your address? Do you share that with your grandchild that you're working on?
No, not really. I haven't.
Maybe you should.
I should.
Yeah, I think about this a lot, that our kids are watching everything we're doing. Every single thing that we're doing, they're watching. If you're teaching yourself something, they're watching you learn yourself. They're watching you read. They're watching you get up on your feet and discover for the first time and make the mistakes and then the successes. And they're watching all that. It's helping them to determine how they're going to learn, how they're going to. And also, both my older kids say, so many of the people my age cannot teach themselves new things. That's sad to me. That's very sad to me. When my son became an early teen and I was about to pull my hair out, I started learning soap making because I needed something to take me away from the day for a while. He was my toughest student. And I'd get up every morning about 4:30 and sit and just take notes and notes and notes and notes. And I didn't realize at the time, my kids were watching this whole process right to the first bar of soap that I made, the bars of soap that I made, all the way to their high school years. That really carried through with them. It made a big impression on them that she took something she had no knowledge of whatsoever. And I guess I've done it in a variety of ways. I've had successes and I've had failures. I've backed up. There's some things I've said, that's it, I'm not trying this anymore, I'm not going to do that anymore at all. This is just not for me. Both the older two say that they're going to have put my tombstone. I bet I can do that. Because oftentimes when I'm at the store, I'll look something over like, yeah, I bet I can make that. And they're They're used to that process. Both of them have things going on in their lives right now that they're teaching themselves. When we all come together, we're learning those things together, and that's pretty exciting. Okay, so it's very important that we're ongoing students, that we're not authorities that are just sitting and telling them all we know. Do you give up easily? Because if you do, your kids will. And I'm not very buff this summer, and my intention was to get up and start lifting weights this summer. I'm in my 50s and it's time to do it. I'm glad I didn't say that repeatedly out loud in front of Nora, or she'd be able to say right now, oh, Mom didn't follow through on that. But they're watching us. If you give up easily, they're going to give up easily. Every single thing that we do, they're taking in. Okay? Are you able to laugh at yourself? Oh my goodness, to me that's the most important thing, because one of my struggles is I've got a temper. Woo, I'm Irish. So, if I can come back to a second and say, oh wow, you know, I blew this or I blew that, I'm sorry about this, and let's go on with that. Or if, as I'm trying to help figure things out, I'm getting it wrong, and I can laugh at that. Matt or Nora just loves it if I'm working alongside her with a math problem, I'm like, here, I'm going to go ahead and do it. Because I don't get the calculator out very often to go over math problems. I'll just go ahead and work them out beside her. We're checking math now, I'll go ahead and check it. She loves it if I've gotten something wrong. Our kids, But it's so good too, because I'm able to laugh at myself. Generally, sometimes I'm frustrated. But that helps her when she's frustrated to say, hey, it's something into the world. We make mistakes, we get up, we brush ourselves off, and we try again, okay? It's so important for us to model that with the kids. So what is the relationship that you have with your child? Everything that you are proud of that you do with your child, and everything that you wish you were doing differently as a parent with your child, will be amplified when you teach them at home. All those things. Do you 2 or 3 or 4, or however many kids you have, work well together? Do you get into patterns of communication that are not healthy? What is that relationship that you have with that child? I look around when I'm at the store and I see a variety of parents. And I see the negotiator and I see the pleader, and I see the one that's just throwing their hands up in the air. I see the one that's numb. And at some point in your relationship with your child, you're going to be all of those. But how often are you going to be that person? Okay, you have to work together. You have to decide, this is more important what we're doing here than this relationship. If there's something that needs to be fixed in the relationship you have with your kids, do it now. Okay, work on it now. Decide now. To be totally self-effacing, we've run into a snag this last 3 weeks. I firmly believe that kids, right before they get ready to make a new developmental milestone, oftentimes you see them as abrasive. You know, every once in a while you're like, what is going on here? We are getting along so well, and now we've hit a snag. And then suddenly one day that snag is gone, but there's something new in place. Maybe they seem a little bit older, their sense of humor's changed a little bit, or they're making observations at a higher level. I just think sometimes when they're growing and stretching, right before those new things we get to see, we see grumpiness. Nora, since she's not here, she knows I'm saying this. The last 3 weeks, we've had quite a turn with, I know this to be true. No, I know this to be true. No, I know this to be true. You know, where you're arguing back and forth, which is ridiculous on my part to be arguing at all. And I just said last night, we're going to be really careful. We're getting ready to start this school year here, and we have hit this snag. So we need to decide right now, are we going to treat each other like paper plates or like china? Because that's the decision being made here. All right? Let's not throw this relationship away. Don't throw parts of it away. Let's stop. let's both of us make sure that we're stopping and looking at each other and then using our words in a more mindful way, okay? You're gonna have this. Are you a rock as a parent or an emergency planner? I see parents that are running in circles and running in circles. There's so many things to do, so little time. Slow down. They need us to be slow moving. They need to not sense when they're working by us that we're impatient for them to get done with the work that they're doing. They need to know that we're totally relaxed, waiting for them to work through whatever problem they're working on. If they sense we're looking at our watch, thinking, boy, I've got to get lunch started, boy, I'd like to get that other laundry started, I'd like to get, that's going to have an effect on who they are as a student. Just be here during this time. It's what we'd expect of the teacher. If our child come home and we found out that, well, my teacher keeps running down and doing her laundry down in the back room, what would we say to that? We'd say, what? She's supposed to be the teacher, or he's supposed to be the teacher for the entire day. Can we say that? So be mindful of that, okay? Can you answer the question, I feel most bonded with my child when? Or I feel most frustrated with my child when? I can say I feel most bonded with Nora when we're doing our reading. Usually that is the time when we're most relaxed. We'll go out in a hammock, if it's nice out, and just slowly read. I love that. I feel so connected to her then. I feel so frustrated when she's giving up easily on a math problem. I know that about me. I know that about her. She would say these same things. What are you able to say pushes your buttons or makes you feel that love bond, okay? Be aware of those. Right now, before the school year starts, is the time to decide how you're going to handle times with your kids when they're temperamental, when they're unmotivated, when they're fill in the blank, because everybody's child is altogether different. And make a plan. How am I going to handle it when this occurs? Something we had last year was, I'm done, and it's sloppy. And then we had the, I don't want to see more sloppy work. Do not hand it in to me if it is sloppy. And then we had the, where I finally had to say, this is the plan, and I had it on the bulletin board. If you hand something in to me that looks like this, and I had an example as well, this is what's going to happen. This is the course of action. Do not be surprised. If you make those plans right now, how you're going to handle the tough days, 3 things. Your kids need boundaries, and they respond to them. They know. There's no surprise. They know what it's going to look like if they don't. It helps you to keep your cool. You make your better decisions when you don't have to also think about the discipline at hand regarding decisions that they're making that aren't as wise. Okay, so that's probably a good idea. You both can go to the board. And you know what? Going back to sense of humor, when mom becomes impatient during blah, this is what she's going to do, or this is what she has to do. I will not be patient, or I will be patient 10 times, 20 times. Kids love to. They can sign on to that. You know, if you're going to be watching them, now they can be watching you as well. But if you can think about that ahead of time, all these things, and you'll hear that reoccurring theme, planning for it ahead of time. Think in advance so that when it gets here, when it gets here, not if. You have a plan of action. You're not just going off half-cocked to make the local news, okay? All right. Again, chart those successes. Chart the successes. I think so much about that, and it didn't really come to mind. It had years ago, but I got rusty through it all. Nora struggled in math, and so before going into 3rd grade, Before going into 4th grade, we spent that summer doing math. It was a long summer. I was so proud of her. We still talk about that summer, about how hard that summer was. And yet she's able to this day to look back and see, I did that. We charted it out. This is where you're at. This is where you need to be by end of summer. We refer to that all the time. This last school year, when she was hitting walls in different subjects, okay, let's back up. You're having some issues writing an introductory paragraph. It was so much fun to several weeks later say, how long did this introductory paragraph take you? Because 4 weeks back, the amount of time it took you was this, with this many corrections. That's so important. I mean, I tell you, that can carry a kid for days. That type of feedback can. And it can us as well. Because when we get down in the trenches, sometimes we're not seeing those successes as well. I also encourage journaling. Maybe it'd be a good idea to journal the first month or 2 of school, the successes and the not successes, and how it was handled. Don't do it till the next day if it was an unsuccessful day, or you have some distance from it all and can see it a little bit more humbly in the part that, I don't know, you might have played in it. It may be really good to look at the end of a month that you can then see the patterns of what's going on in your household. It's hard to see that when you're right in there and in teaching them. Always be humble. Forgive yourself when you stumble. Forgive your kids when they do. They're kids. They're little people in training. I can't say enough about this. We're people. And all that that implies. All the lumps, the bumps, the bruises, and it all. They need you to pick them up when they fall down. And if you can't right now because you just got too embedded in it, step away from it and later on do that. I think one of the hardest things about homeschooling my oldest 2, I'm a mom, no, I'm a teacher. No, I'm a mom, no, I'm a teacher. At what point in the day do you take that teaching hat off and become a mom again? Because I'm going to tell you what, Mrs. Helmick's not going home with us at night, and at 7 o'clock after supper, she's not saying, and another thing, you need to get back on that writing assignment. Do we do that? They need a break. They need a break at some point in the day. And that's not to say if you get behind on something that there's not times you'll have to do things in the evening. But take that hat off and be their mom in the evening, be their dad in the evening. They need that from you. Okay? And that is that's a struggle. That's a big struggle. Okay, your relationship with your teacher. So co-teaching, it can be great, it can be confusing, it can be frustrating, and back to great all in the course of a week. I have taught side by side with a teacher in a classroom, and we have stumbled over one another, and we have stopped right then and there and said, hold on a minute, everybody, we need to get on the same page. We have gotten on the same page, we've apologized for not having been on the same page while we were teaching them, and we've gone back to it. We don't have that luxury when we are co-teaching. It's numerous topics being taught throughout the week, and your teacher is at a long distance. So this is a little bit of an interesting relationship that you have. The teachers that we have had so far, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and I'm assuming, let me just go ahead and ask you, I'm having Mrs. Helmick this year. What hours are you available for texting?
I have on the document that you will be getting in a little bit that I may get, if you text me before school, I might get it, but there's a chance I won't see it until I get to school. And if it's something quick, I endeavor to respond pretty quickly, regardless of the time. I can answer this in 30 seconds. It doesn't really matter much what time if I see it. But usually I don't check as strictly after 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock is usually my cutoff time. And I may be later than some, I'm not sure.
Well, she's a saint because I wouldn't be that time evening unless it was an emergency.
I also point out that I am unmarried and do not have children.
Well, still, Mrs. McDonald last year had hours that you can text me between this time and this time. And I wrote that down at the first of the year, put that in my book, and I was careful as a parent to look at that and ask myself, I'm getting right there on the edge, and this may be a several texts back and forth. Do I text it now or don't I? One of the things that you'll see, isn't this complex? Might be a question mark page. At the first of the year, I make a copy of that in a bright color, like maybe this over here. And that goes in the front of my binder. And as the year's going along, if questions are coming up, I quickly, or Nora can quickly run back and write a question on there. This is something I need to ask the teacher. Oh, here's another thing I need to ask the teacher. Here's something I want to ask the administration. And so while it's there in my mind, and so I can refer back to that before coming into school, because otherwise, gone, baby, gone. So you're talking to your teacher. You have to ask questions. This beginning of this year, I will be asking so many questions, and I won't feel any shame for it. What about this? What about this? What do you say about this? What about this? How is this done? It's okay. That's what they're here for. And the more questions that they can get taken care of at the first of the year, the smoother the rest of the year is going to go. And the other thing is, if a lot of questions are coming up from one parent, it could just be the other parents. Oh, I don't want to be the one. I don't want to be the one seen as fill in the blank. Ask all the questions you need. What you're going to see eventually is a group text where she's answering or he's answering. Several of you have wondered, and that's all you need to hear. It's not just me. It's okay. Grab one of the other parents. I was kind of timid about that in second grade. I didn't know any of the parents. People love to talk about teaching. Okay? If I grab you and I'm like, what did you do under this circumstance? Oh, this is what I did. Another parent's walking down the hall. Oh, what did you do? It's all right there. Just ask. Just ask. Your teacher is an invaluable source of resources. You were asking some questions in the last class about history. You'll be able to go to her. You'll be able to go to the other teachers. She'll go to the other teachers to grab whatever resource you need. There's resources in the library as well. That's what she's there for. She is there to assist us like we are there to assist her or him. I'm sorry I keep doing that. I keep saying moms too. I'm sorry that right now. This should be a very good partnership. The squeaky wheel does get the oil. And the reward is, I think you'll have a better relationship with your teachers if you are that squeaky wheel. You get to know each other through this process. You get to know how each other thinks. And in doing that, they're anticipating where your mind might be going on this next project they're getting ready to lay out in front of you. Oh, she'll have questions about this because I know her style of questioning or his style of questioning. It's very important. But it can't all be handled by text or email. There's going to be times you have to meet face to face. And I hate that because I'm kind of an introvert. I just assume you do everything by text. That's not always possible. And we can't text into midnight now, can we? So sometimes I've got to get out of that car and I've got to come in here and I've got to meet face to face with the teacher and go over questions that I have. That's okay. They're available for that. If it's something that's beyond assignments, if it's a concern you have that something's going on in the classroom or something in particular that you have concerns of regarding teaching or something that was assigned, jot down notes. Anytime I've met with the administration or with the teachers, I always come in with notes ahead of time. I sit down and I think it out. If you end up in a situation where you are very frustrated, if you let it go long enough that you're now frustrated, pop the brakes. Here's your sheet of paper, here's your pen. In the next 12 hours, jot down your thoughts. I promise you, in that length of time, you're going to have gathered your thoughts, you're gotten rid of the ones that are unnecessary, and you'll get to the point quicker in being a good teacher. It shouldn't be an issue. I've had very good luck. And I've met with all the teachers at different times. So, I want you to remember, if you can, our teachers and our administrators are under a microscope. We can stare at them all the time. We can watch what they're doing, watch what they're saying, watch what they're assigning. We have that luxury. Watch how they're interacting with our students, watch how they're interacting with other adults, the parents. I shouldn't say that separately. I guess the parents are adults. They're not able to do that with us. Would you want them to be able to do that? Would you like one of them to come into your room as you're teaching your child, wherever it is in your house you're doing that, or wherever you teach at? Would you still be able to fall under that same scrutiny if they were to watch us for the day? Think about that, okay? Going back to, we're all people and all that that implies. Let's be mindful of that. I am one parent. In this year, we have 7 students. Is that correct? I'm not considering at this moment all the other parents and concerns they may have, or concerns the teacher may have. Come on, there's no any one family more important or less important here at Trinity, and I've not gotten that impression ever. And you can't say that. No, in all schools. Let's see here. I want to say, don't let things build. I called this section relationship with teachers when I was writing it, but later on I thought I should have called it relationship with teachers with a child who last week thought they saw a kangaroo out the pasture in between you and the teacher. And don't forget that as well. I love Nora, bless her, but it's like the game telephone. Well, Mrs. Helmick said, it may not be the truth, or it may be the truth as that child sees it, okay? Or the wording may be really off. You don't know what you don't know. And the same way with the teacher, when a child goes to school and say, Mom, last night, fill in the blank. I got a picture last year sent home that Nora had done in Mrs. McDonald's class. It was so horrifying. I don't even know what to say about it. It was 2 wine glasses, and I can't even drink wine very much because I get headaches. One's tipped over, and one's here, and I'm under the table here, and the coup de grace was the dead mouse in the middle of the table. She didn't know what she didn't know. I'm not a wino and my house isn't filthy. But if you ask Nora, she can tell you exactly why she wrote that, because on Thanksgiving, we get out the wine glasses and we have wine and we celebrate, and that's a time when we're happy. Why am I under the table? Well, you're sitting at the table. No, clearly I was under the table with one hand desperately here. Also. But she's a young artist. Well, what about the mouse? Isn't he cute? Don't forget that. Okay? We assume about the teacher, and the teacher assumes about us. We've got to be real careful with that. And the other thing regarding that, kids are sensing that relationship that you have with that teacher, and they're kids. They will use it to their advantage if they think that you're not communicating well, because they're kids. Well, she didn't say I had to do that neat. Okay. Forgive yourself. You're going to be a bad teacher. You're going to be a good teacher. When you have really good days, think of ways to reward yourselves. And at the end of the day, I just went off course. Don't forget, no I didn't. Don't forget, in the midst of all this texting back and forth with your teacher, to just stop and look up and thank her or him for the things that they're doing well. They've been inundated all day long with questions, concerns, questions, concerns, questions, concerns. They're people. Going back to that people theme, if they're doing something really well in the classroom that you noticed this week, tell them, man, I tell you, she really responded well to this. You did a great job with this, and thank you for explaining this. Give those compliments. You want to hear them, right? You want to hear them as a teacher as well. So your relationship with administration, well, now I can't talk about it because administration's in here. So we'll just take this time and look off into the distance. Years ago, as a child and family therapist in 6 different counties, and I've been in a lot of schools, and I've met a lot of administration through the years. And I just want to say that I'm very impressed with this administration. I think they're doing a great job. There's one other little country school north of Galesburg, I think, but we're not there, that also did a fine job. I like that you can walk in here on any one given day and talk to them, and they respond. And if you have a question, they've got an answer, or they have, I will find out this answer and I will get back to you, and guess what they do? And that doesn't happen everywhere, or actually many places. There's not an arrogance here, and I really like that. Thank you. Thank you for that. You can actually have a conversation with an administrator about curriculum, and they not question why you would ask them about curriculum when they're the authority. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome, and it's kind of rare. So I appreciate that very much. The same thing applies to the administrators. They are people. When we elect to bring our kids here to Trinity, we have made an agreement with them that we are going to co-teach our kids and that we're going to take that seriously. It doesn't mean that we're going to have to do it. It means we are going to do it. Which brings me back to the teacher. I guess I do need to run back to this right quick. If a teacher assigns something, you need to do it. Your child needs to do it. If you make the decision that, well, we're just not going to do this. We'll do this, and we'll do this, but we're not doing this. That's undermining your teacher. And it's teaching your kid that your teacher, what she or he feels is important in your education, is only as important as you think it is. Think about that. If you stumble and fall behind, pick yourself up, talk to that teacher, make a date that this can be due by. Take a couple evenings out of your week and say, I'm sorry, we've just got to do it. We've got to have to take a couple hours tonight and maybe an hour tomorrow night and get this caught up. We are obligated, or else you're going to get that 0. The kids need to learn that. If they were working right now out in the real world, they wouldn't be able to say, oh, you know what, I think we'll do this and this, but I'm probably not going to get this back to you all. Sorry, just not feeling it. It's very important that we have our kids follow through with what our teachers are telling them to do. Administration. Years ago, when I was sitting in a school, there were a lot of young moms. Really young moms. And some of them were, I know they had their kids when they're teenagers. And I felt so sorry for them sitting there. They wouldn't make eye contact with the administrator. They were barely making eye contact with the teacher. You can tell they walked into that building feeling like the children they felt like in school themselves. The relationship you had with administration growing up in the schools that you went to, think about that a little bit, because that's going to follow you here. Did say, for instance, your mother get a call that there was no longer a Kelly present, but there was a Christina and a Valoria was showing up from time to time. And you had to go to the principal and explain why you thought those names were so much better than the male name you got stuck with. Those have an effect on you, a lifetime effect on you. Okay, so think about that when you're thinking about, I'm getting ready to maybe have a meeting with an administrator. Is my heart pumping 100 miles an hour? Do I feel like I'm so much less than this person? Do I feel like I'm equal with this person? It's going to have bearing on the meeting that you have, okay? If you need to meet with an administrator, set a time. Get together, set a time, and just like with the teacher, get out that piece of paper. Spend some time writing down what it is you think you want to talk about. What are the most important points? Make sure that when you get into that meeting that it's not a meandering meeting. Make sure that your points are laid out and their points are laid out in return. All right, that's only fair to them. Again, going back to their people, they have lives too. outside of here. I've heard that rumor, okay? It is not fair for them to hear something when you're already boiling over. Take care of things soon. And I mean that here. I've had the best luck with that right now, I've got a question right now. I'm gonna go ahead and this week take care of it. Instead of next week, it's another question. And here's another thing I'm thinking. Come on, don't barrage them. And the teacher, like this year's class, we have seven sets of parents. The administrator has how many sets of parents? That's a lot, Think about that. My final thought on this is, it's very difficult to find those people that we truly trust our kids with, that we've dropped them off, and something may happen in the school day, eventually will their kids, and a situation may have to be handled. That you have found those people that will handle that situation the way you would want it to be handled. It's going on here. Okay? I feel like things are handled biblically here. Nora was caught gambling last year, and she was able to side betting. That's the kind of things going on here. It was kind of cute. Right before Christmas, she pulled a 40 out of her pocket, and I said, "Oh, where did you get that?" She said, "This boy dared me to lick the floor, and he'd give me $40 if I did it." Oh, no! So we had to make that phone call to that parent, and then we had to sit down with her. And I knew it was going to be taken care of well. That's indictable. That's absolutely indictable. So, I read once that you should spend 60% of your day homeschooling in a child's successes and 40% in those areas that they're struggling with. And that has always stuck with me. Be careful how much of your day you're in a struggle area. And if you're struggling too much in an area, contact that teacher, contact other parents. Find out, do we need to pop the brakes with this child? Do we need to make a special plan? Or are there some things that we need to catch up on? Because boy, nobody wants to school each morning getting up thinking, I'm heading into trouble. So you might want to keep those numbers in mind. How am I doing on time? Am I over now? Okay. Well, then I'm not going to tell you how I do it. If you ever have any questions, I'd love to answer them as another parent. I think that there's not a parent here that you can grab and ask a question of, and they answer, or else they find the answer, or maybe it's a question they have on long too and think it's great, and it'll get sent out to everybody and answer them. I wish you guys so much luck this year homeschooling, and show your children grace and yourself grace. There's days you're going to need it, and make sure too the days that are really great, journal about those. Really journal about those days, okay? It's important. Thank you.
Thank you.